Let's continue the conversation then. Jesse Marsch out at Leeds United. For more, we turn to our colleague, Jon Champion. Jon, great to have you back with us here on Futbol Americas. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's great to be back with you. Although I'm sorry about the circumstances. I'm a bit downcast to see Jesse lose his job in these times. I think, it had been coming. I think for the last few weeks, there'd been signs that the string that was still holding him attached to Leeds United was fraying by the week. But for it to come now, I think it's particularly sad for him. But I understand why, with back-to-back games against Manchester United coming up, because the other side of that are games that whoever the new man is going to have to win against the likes of Southampton and Everton. So the timing kind of makes sense.
Right, Jon. So you say it's sad, but as we were just discussing, is it fair? Do you think Jesse Marsch, when it's all said and done, got a fair shot at Leeds?
Do you know, I do. Really, I think he's 22 days short of 1 year at the helm, and in the modern Premier League, that is a fair roll of the dice. He was backed in the transfer market, I think, a little later than he might have liked. I know that there were a couple of big exits last year, Rafinha, Calvin Phillips, but then they spent £50 million over and above the fees that they got in for those two. You could argue that that money was spent too late in this window. But at the same time, I think in the overall piece, 2 wins in 17 in the Premier League. Any manager that goes 3 months without a Premier League win, you're looking at job security being almost non-existent.
Yeah, I said it before, I'll say it again. Jon stressed 2 wins in 17 matches, 3.5 months without a win, 7 games in a row where you couldn't get a win at home. This is bound to happen. It doesn't matter if it's Jesse Marsch or if it's Pep Guardiola. You get those kind of numbers, those kind of results or lack thereof. This is what's going to happen. It's a results-driven business.
Jon, we've had Bob Bradley in the Premier League. We've now had Jesse Marsch in the Premier League. We still have Chris Armas, I should point out, in the Premier League. Looks like he's going to at least be part of the Leeds technical staff against Manchester United for the game on Wednesday. What do you think overall the sentiment about American coaches is right now around the Premier League?
Well, Seb, this doesn't help, but at the same time, I think coaches are judged not on nationality, but on ability and their potential to succeed. So I think if the next cab off the rank from America happens to do well, say it's Jim Curtin, for example, if I look around the ranks of American coaches at the moment, I think he is potentially the next cab off the rank to go to Europe and possibly do really well. I think he's got every chance. I think he's really well equipped. Whether now's the time is another matter. But I don't think it'll really be a subject for discussion, his nationality, as and when he arrives in Europe, for example, just as I didn't really think that it was with Jesse Marsch. It was more about his credentials to do the job than his nationality. For what it's worth, I think he made a far better fist of it than Bob Bradley did. I think he was a lot cuter in the way that he went about things, the way that he handled the media, the way he presented himself. And I do feel for him because I think everyone would say he's a really decent guy. He's definitely got the ability. It's just that anyone that goes to Leeds United at the moment is not really getting a fair role because they don't spend at the same level of most other teams. They have a squad that arguably is not fit for Premier League purpose at the moment. So anyone is going to struggle to get a tune out of them.
I don't know if I agree with that, Seb, in the terms that nationality doesn't matter. We look at the British press, the UK press since the moment Jesse Marsch had gotten there had ridiculed him, belittled him, had akined him to Ted Lasso. So I do think nationality played a part in it. Now, whether he took advantage of the tools at his disposal and tried to change that narrative and was successful, that's a different story. But we can't act like this doesn't hold American backs or put him back in a different light or in a different perspective with most, I would say, UK pundits. Or just in general, because you look at the track record of American managers in Europe, few and far between. Sure, you've got your Matarazzos, you've got your Wagners, your David Wagners, you've got a few that have been mainstays in some sense or form, but not the Premier League. Not when it comes to the world's best league. Not when it comes to the cup of tea that Bob Bradley had there, or Jesse Marsch and his getting there and what transpired. I do feel this definitely holds back American coaches a bit, especially in the eyes of the Premier League.
I mean, I started my answer by saying it doesn't help, and it doesn't help. But I do struggle a bit with this idea that just because a coach is American, he's going to be ridiculed. Yes, Jesse Marsch had to ride a few slings and arrows from the media And maybe that wasn't fair. I don't think he had it quite as bad as Bob Bradley did. And I think the next guy that goes in there will have it easier again. So maybe it is a process that needs to be gone through. Maybe there do need to be a few American coaches before we get the guy that hits it out of the park. But I know what you're saying, Herc, about, yeah, there are battles that American coaches have to fight over there that maybe they shouldn't really have to fight. But I think ultimately they're going to be judged not on their nationality, but whether they're up to the job.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be. I'm not convinced that the UK press in general is that way with foreign coaches. We saw with Unai Emery when he was in the UK and the way they ridiculed him. I guess it's par for the course with foreign coaches. But if you're asking if this sets American coaches back, I think I'm with John. It certainly doesn't help.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.